Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your neighbor here. Welcome to the Nook and welcome to Sunday. So we're going to shoot a couple of samples, and these samples came to me from Sean, the Dark Cloud. Thank you, Sean. They actually came quite a while ago. In this box, there were 5. I've got 2 of them out here, and there's 3 more nice bottles here. And these, Sean said, were his favorite whiskeys of 2022. So we're going to talk about, I don't know if they're in order, Sean, but we'll pretend they are. Your 4th favorite, or your 5th, we'll start with last, 5th, which is Amrut single malt, but this is the Amrut Spectrum 004. That's a no-age stamp, and there's some interesting casking going on in that Amrut. And then we'll talk this. This is Boulder, so it's out of Colorado. It's a single malt as well, but this one's called the Trailhead. And the Trailhead, I think, is because it had its journey up here up north. So if you have any Indian single malt, or if you have any Colorado single malt, why don't you pour a little bit of that? If you have either of these, the Amrut Spectrum 004 or the Boulder, the Trailhead, a little harder to find, why don't you pour that? And I'll let these rest. Come on back and we'll share some whiskey together. 3, 4. Well, thanks for coming back. Thanks again, Mr. Dark Cloud. The first one is the Amrut Spectrum 004. I don't have a bottle cutaway for you, but this is an Indian single malt. It's non-age stamp, so it's likely very, very young. My understanding of the Amrut 04 is that it's aged in ex-bourbon, some undetermined amount of time, but not long. And then it goes through a series of casks to give it different flavors. Now, I don't know how long it goes through each of those casks, but we have some charred American oak, some new charred American oak, some toasted French oak, and then there's 2 sherries, both Oloroso and PX. Perhaps the 004 stands for all that barreling. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm sure it does. So there are 4 finishing barrels on this Indian single malt. I believe it's released at 50%. But I have only this sample bottle, which is well labeled, but doesn't say the percent. But when I look it up, it looked like 50% ABV. So let's give this Amrut a try, see what we like it, nose and taste. That is a dark whiskey on the nose. It is fig and prune. Maybe some dark nuts in there, some dark chocolate, but just a ton of older dried fruits. Yeah, like, well, I think I said prune. Like we're talking, yeah, certainly maybe some raisins. And there might be some plum in there, but it's more like that really thick fig. Not as sweet as fig. Yeah, I'm gonna go with almost bitter on the nose, but dark fruit. Let's try it on the palate. Sláinte. That continues. That essence of thick, chewy. I think some sweetness is gonna come back, yeah, now in the finish, but from the nose right into the palate. It's savory for me. It's allspice. It's clove, slight bacon, lots of prune, that really thick fruit. And a little bitter. Try another sip. Sláinte. Little more char, oak, vanilla, other spices now, some peppering, some wood pepper, wood spice, woodiness, drying, puckering. There's a lot in this dram. This is a really nice malt, a nice single malt. It is a little bit aggressive. It begins a little bitter, a little orange rind, orange zest. I'm a sucker for those thick navel oranges, and then you eat the white pith out of it as a kid. That little bit of pith bitter with that orange almost on my lips. Very interesting. Cocoa, espresso, hazelnut. Very nice, Sean. I can see why it made the top list of last year. That's last year's list. I'm sure you found many other drams, but this is just rich and almost brooding, but layered too. I'm getting more layers there, but it definitely has an underlying, I would say, savory and almost bitter. I do say bitter orange, but it works well. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's shift gears to an American single malt. This is from Boulder Spirits out of Colorado, and it's called the Trailhead. And I haven't had this story told to me directly from Travis or Steve. I'd like that, you guys. But my understanding is, PWS Imports brings all the Boulder goodness into Alberta. That's who brings it here. And the story is they went down there, they're trying different whiskeys, and they tried this single malt. And they said, yeah, we'll take it all, or this all needs to come back up north with us, or something like that. And so that began the trail of Boulder Spirits coming to Alberta. This is a Canada-only release, and maybe it captures a bit of the essence of that partnership. So what's in this glass, I understand, is that peated and unpeated single malt aged separately. I think it's char number 3 in new oak for 4 years. Then it was put together and married in an XPX cask for a year. So it's still pretty young single malt, but it had that new oak aging and then that PX finishing, but for a long time. And there's some peated, some unpeated single malt in this. And 52.5, I think, is this. So we've gone up just a little bit. Let's try this Trailhead on the nose. Oh, interesting. Here, when I said this was dark and brooding, yeah, orange and prune. This is sweet. It's cherry. It's definitely maybe chocolate cherry, but it's got that sweet cherry syrup right on the nose. Yeah, I'd still say dark cherry, but it's definitely that's just the predominant note I'm getting right off the nose. Let's try the Trailhead on the palate. See if that peat's gonna say hello. Cheers. This is a different beast. I am getting a little bit of caramel toffee, but no, right back into aromatic fruits, cherry fruits, sweeter almonds, sweeter overall. I know it's a single malt, but when I said that toffees, it's almost like it must be that vanillas from that new oak that's coming through. I can get malt sugars now. I get a little more earthiness. That's got to be the peat. I'm getting an earthy smolder, a little bit of campfire. There, yep, and it's coming in the finish. It's coming. I think it's going to come back in this second sip, but I didn't get even a lot of peat in the palate until the finish. Let's try another sip. Cheers. There's something. Maybe that's PX. Okay, yeah. I mean, PX has sweet fruit notes to it. And there is some berry and some jam in there. Okay, I'll go with that. But I am getting such a sweet cherry note. Like those, okay, it's not a great analogy because I don't like the chocolates very much. But those single cherries that are wrapped up in chocolate and you bite them and I've got a bit of that juice. I've got a bit of that chocolate cherry sweet combination. Little spicing on the longer finish now. Little peppering. But overall, just significantly sweeter for me. Maybe in contrast, maybe this was really drying and almost, no, it was bitter. This is a bitter whiskey. This is a sweet whiskey. They both have some PX in it, but this is far more fruit and prune. This has other malt characteristics, some malt sugars, some caramels and vanillas, I would say. Yeah, maybe more vanillas, but very nice. The peat on this is quite restrained. It's smolder, it's earth, it's a little dirt, it's a little campfire, but it's all just the backdrop. It's not right there. It's not coming off the glass. It's certainly not Isla peat or even any of the stronger peated scotches. It's really integrated quite differently. Almost tastes like a more woody instead of, or earthy, certainly instead of briny and medicinal. Very interesting and very, very nice drams. Sean, you're a gentleman to share with me and put them in a nice box like this and say, hey, I'd like you to sip some of my favorite whiskeys of 2022. These are great. And as I believe some of them are still on the shelves, actually. I think Trailhead's at Sherbrooke Liquor. I don't know. Amrut, I've seen around. I don't know if it's kicking around Alberta, but these would be great gift ideas. I know I didn't bill this as a Christmas episode, but everything's a Christmas episode this time of year. So if you're looking for something fun, these are great, great whiskeys. And a little different off Scotch, right? We got an Indian and we got American single malt. Thanks for joining me here. Thanks again, Sean Dark Cloud, for sharing these with me. Hope you guys have a great week.